a massive military standoff over a hungry pig, a Roman emperor fighting the actual ocean, and a global superpower trading a naval fleet for soda. The 1904 Olympic Marathon. The 1904 Olympic Marathon in St. Louis was less of a race and more of a survival horror game. The unpaved dirt course was brutally hot, kicking up thick dust clouds that caused runners to literally collapse and cough up blood. The guy who crossed the finish line first actually hitched a ride in a car for 11 miles. The official winner, Thomas Hicks, begged to quit mid-race. To keep him moving, his trainers forced him to drink a terrifying cocktail of rat poison and brandy. Oh, and another competitor was a Cuban mailman who arrived in heavy boots and cut-off trousers. He stopped mid-race to chat with spectators, ate a handful of rotten apples, got severe stomach cramps, and just took a nap on the side of the road. Incredibly, he woke up and still finished in 4th place. Operation Mincemeat. During World War II, British intelligence pulled off a morbid deception to trick Hitler. The plan? Operation Mincemeat. They acquired the body of a deceased homeless man named Glinder Michael and created an entire fake life for him. They dressed him as a Royal Marine and stuffed his pockets with used theater tickets, angry letters from a bank, and a photograph of a made-up fiancée named Pam. They even placed a single eyelash inside the wax seal of a letter just to see if the Nazis opened it. They chained a briefcase full of fake invasion plans to his trench coat and dumped his body off the coast of Spain. The ocean currents pushed him straight into the hands of Nazi spies. The pocket litter made the identity so flawless that Hitler completely ignored real warnings and diverted his troops away from the actual invasion. Pepsi's Soviet Navy. In 1989, Soviet citizens were completely addicted to Pepsi, but Soviet currency was totally worthless on the global market. Originally, the Soviets paid for their soda by trading Stolichnaya vodka, but an American boycott made Russian vodka unsellable. So, the government authorized a completely insane trade. They handed Pepsi a cruiser, a frigate, a destroyer, and 17 diesel attack submarines. Yes, because they were desperate to keep the soda flowing. The USSR literally paid a fast food company in warships. Pepsi never intended to go to war, though. They acted as a middleman, instantly selling the decommissioned fleet to a Scandinavian scrap metal yard to recoup their cash. But not before the CEO of Pepsi publicly mocked the U.S. government, stating, "We're disarming the Soviet Union faster than you are." Cleveland Balloonfest. To set a world record, a charity in Cleveland spent 6 months planning the release of nearly 1.5 million helium balloons all at once. It was supposed to be a beautiful spectacle. Instead, it became an apocalyptic nightmare. At 1:30 p.m., the sky filled with a massive, colorful cloud, but a sudden cold front pushed the impenetrable wall of balloons back down into the city streets. It completely shut down a local airport runway. It spooked a pasture of expensive Arabian horses into a damaging stampede. And, worst of all, it covered Lake Erie so thickly that the surface of the water looked like a solid floor of colored plastic. Coast Guard rescue helicopters couldn't distinguish the balloons from life jackets, forcing them to suspend the search for 2 missing fishermen who tragically drowned. The stunt resulted in millions of dollars in brutal lawsuits. Project Acoustic Kitty. During the peak of the Cold War, the CIA was completely paranoid about Soviet spies. So, the United States government authorized a $20 million highly classified surveillance program. The plan? Project Acoustic Kitty. They decided the perfect undetectable spy was a literal house cat. Veterinary surgeons spent 5 years working on a single female feline. They surgically implanted a tiny microphone directly into her ear canal, wove a small radio transmitter at the base of her skull, and hid a thin wire antenna all the way down the length of her tail. They essentially turned a living animal into a $20 million cyborg listening device. When it was finally time for her very first field test in Washington, D.C., agents drove her to a park in an unmarked van. Her mission was to secretly record 2 men sitting on a bench. They opened the sliding door. The cyborg spy cat confidently stepped out, wandered right into the street, and immediately wandered off because she was hungry. It turns out, no matter how many millions of dollars you spend, you cannot force a cat to care about Soviet secrets. She was safely recovered, but the CIA officially concluded the program was not practical. The Molasses flood. When you think of deadly, city-destroying tsunamis, you don't think of pancake syrup, but in 1919, a massive industrial storage tank in Boston had been groaning and leaking for days. The company simply painted the tank brown to hide the leaks. Then, it suddenly burst. The initial blast sounded like a machine gun firing as the metal rivets violently popped off. It released 2.3 million gallons of dark, sticky molasses. A 25-foot wave of pure syrup tore through the streets at 35 miles per hour. It instantly crushed buildings, snapped elevated train tracks in half, and trapped 21 people in a cement-like paste. The cleanup took weeks, requiring crews to blast the streets with salt water because fresh water just made it stickier. The Pig War. The United States and Great Britain almost started a massive, bloody war in 1859, all because of a hungry pig. An American farmer living on a disputed border island shot a large black pig that was eating his potatoes. He offered to pay $10 for it, but the British employee who owned it demanded $100. Tempers flared. Within weeks, 400 American soldiers and 3 heavily armed British warships were locked in a tense standoff. They literally had cannons aimed at each other's heads. The irony: the soldiers on both sides got so bored during the months-long standoff that they started attending each other's parties across the island. Finally, a British admiral arrived and declared it was absolute madness to start a world war over a pig. Project Pigeon. During World War II, the United States military needed a way to accurately steer smart bombs into enemy ships, but computer guidance systems didn't exist yet. Enter psychologist B.F. Skinner. He approached the military with a top-secret solution, Project Pigeon. Skinner designed a missile nose cone with 3 tiny cockpits. He trained living pigeons to sit inside the bomb and rapidly peck at a screen showing the target. The screen was connected to pneumatic valves, so as the bird pecked, the screen shifted, controlling the air pressure that steered the missile's fins, meaning the birds were literally guiding high explosives through the sky. The government actually funded it. And the absolute craziest part: the pigeons were incredible pilots, consistently hitting their targets in simulations, but generals finally pulled the plug. No matter how perfectly the birds performed, the military brass just couldn't stop laughing at the idea, deciding they simply could not take a weapon powered by pigeons seriously. War on the ocean. Caligula is widely considered Rome's most insane emperor, but his military campaign in 40 AD proves he was completely unhinged. After marching his massive army to the coast of France to invade Britain, his soldiers flat out refused to board the ships. To the Romans, Britain was a mythical nightmare, and the violent, crashing ocean tides looked like dark magic at the edge of the known world. Caligula was furious. To psychologically punish and humiliate his terrified legions, he ordered his soldiers into battle formation, aimed their heavy artillery catapults directly at the English Channel, and literally declared war on the water. Instead of fighting, he ordered his elite legions to collect seashells as plunder, locked the shells in treasure chests, and forced the Roman Senate to accept them as legitimate war booty upon his return. The Hanoi Rat Bounty. Taking our #1 spot is a historical blunder proving that humans will always game the system. In 1902, French colonial rulers in Vietnam wanted to clean out Hanoi's rat-infested sewers. Their genius solution: offer a cash bounty for every severed rat tail brought to the authorities. At first, it worked perfectly. Millions of tails were handed in. But then, officials started noticing thousands of healthy tailless rats running around the city streets. Enterprising locals realized that if they just cut off the tail and let the rat live, it would breed more rats. They even started secretly farming them in cages for infinite money. When the furious French realized the massive scam and canceled the bounty, the breeders simply released thousands of worthless rats into the streets. The government's attempt to clean the city directly caused a massive population explosion and sparked a deadly outbreak of the bubonic plague. Which of these historical embarrassments shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. If you want to uncover more chaotic and absurd moments from the historical archives, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and click the file on screen right now. See you in the next archive.